Good morning and welcome back to Real Talk with the Vagina Doc. I'm your host, Dr. Jocelyn Conley, pelvic floor physical therapist and owner of the Vagina Doc Physical Therapy and Wellness in Scottsdale, Arizona. I hope you all are having a wonderful morning so far. It is already getting really warm in Arizona and it's only 7:30 in the morning, but the morning has been great so far. So I wanted to come on today and share with you a aha moment that I had yesterday. So, yesterday I had the opportunity to interview my pelvic floor physical therapist, Amy Vander Linden, who practices these bugs. I have bug bites all over my body, and so now I'm like paranoid, but she is located in the West Valley. I'm on the East Valley, so it's a bit of a drive to see her, but she's worth it. And I I really respect her and her practice because she takes a unique approach that most pelvic physical therapists cannot take if they're especially in a traditional clinical setting in a insurance-based practice. And when I started to see her, my life significantly changed. Significantly. It was already on the bridge of changing, but what I accomplished with her really opened my eyes to a lot of other aspects of my that I had to face in my life. So after the podcast, we were just talking, and she also hosts a podcast, and she was talking about having me on, and I was like, what would you like to talk about? And we take a different approach in our podcast. Yes, my podcast is educational, but it's almost like talking about taboo things in pelvic health. And a lot of that is surrounded around sex, sexuality, and sexual function. So I was sharing with her some things that were happening around that time whenever I was seeing her. And I will save that for another time, but basically, she was like, regardless of what it is, the big thing was you started to say yes to yourself rather than saying yes to the thing. So let's say I said one great example that isn't what I'm talking about, but it was me saying yes to myself, was spending money to get my hair done. And you wouldn't know now because I haven't done it yet today. I woke up like this. Um, but I had gotten, I found a hairstylist, and I was seeing her more regularly than I've ever seen a hairstylist. I mean, I didn't see someone since I lived in St. Louis, which was in 2017, and which is crazy. I got a trim, just a trim, didn't let the hairstylist do anything else, and that was at home, one of my mom's friends that is a hairstylist. So that was my first yes to myself. And then as I started to identify areas of my life that would feed in or bleed into my business, I started to say, okay, what can I do to change this? And a lot of the things that I was saying no to were based on beliefs that I had since childhood. And I didn't have an answer of why I said no. So I began to say yes to myself. And I believed what Amy and I agreed on. It was freedom. The freedom of saying yes to myself was the catalyst of what started to create this massive transformation in my life. So, how does that relate to you? Well, a lot of people that I see and that follow me are moms. And you serve a humongous role in your life in that you are most of your kids that those of you that I'm currently working with, your kids are little and they depend on you. So there's so many little ones that are totally dependent on you. Then those of you that are working, you have your job to continue to serve. You have your role as a partner, whether or not you're married. That you have that role in your life. You have your role in your community. So when you go to do something for yourself, whether it's seeing a cash pay provider like me, who's a little bit more expensive, or going to get your hair done, or going or buying a something that is going to be for you, it's hard. You're like, well, I need to save that for my kids or for my marriage or for my home so that I'm providing a safe environment for my family. So I find that you have a hard time saying yes to yourself, doing things for yourself. And you feel there's a guilt attached to doing something for yourself because maybe the other people around you are going to judge like, "Oh, you're doing that, but yet you won't sign your kids up for this," or even if that's external pressure, but your internal pressure is like, well, if I spend money here, then I can't spend money here. Or if I do this, what are people going to think of me? All of those questions are you're saying yes or no based on external reasons. What are others going to think of me? Rather than saying, what am I going to think of me? And so part of this journey of mine, is I'm becoming less and less of that person that cares what other people are going to think of me when I do something. I think part of that comes into business ownership. I don't have a manager. I don't have a company owner that is going to feel threatened of that was a big thing whenever I worked for someone else. It was scary to post anything because I thought I was going to be get in trouble. When it comes to my relationships, it's like, who cares who I hang out with? The only person that matters at the end of the day is how I judge myself. And what I was finding was every time I said no based on a belief of something that I didn't have, like there was no rhyme or reason, it was just a belief that was there, or if I said no because of what other people were going to think, I felt, whether it was at the forefront of my brain or not, I felt like less strong, or the total opposite of what I feel now, in that when I do something, whether it's the goal is to learn, whether that's something I prefer or not, or to help shape my perspective, help me become more relatable, more compassionate. I mean, it is so freeing and so rewarding to be able to look back and say, while that's not my cup of tea, I learned a lot. Or I thought that was really, really interesting, and I'm a total beginner and I have a lot to learn here. So it brings on a new hobby, which could open up a can of worms if you don't have time. So you have to be careful in where you go next. Like, don't put pressure on yourself to be the best or to be a high performer in a new area, because it's just that's not how it works. This was a short one, but I think it's short and powerful. So when a thought pops up in your mind, say you want to try something new. First step is let the thought go. Like, just let it happen. And if you're like, oh, people think I'm weird, or someone won't approve, I want you to stop and say why. Then I want you to ask yourself, does that opinion matter? Then I want you to ask yourself, is that judgment real? Is that judgment, does that judgment serve me? Is it for my best interest, or is it out of the comfort of that other person that you're sharing what you want to do with? Meaning, if you share something that you want to do and they're like, no, you shouldn't do that, that's weird. Are they saying that because that's something that they wouldn't be comfortable doing? Perfect example is the wearing the cheeky bikini bottoms. If you tell your friend, hey, I think I'm going to buy a pair of those, and that friend says, I don't think you should do that, they're too revealing. Well, why is that friend telling you that? Dig deeper. Is that really an insecurity? Anything along the lines of here's a better example that is the opposite. So that wasn't a good, I wouldn't listen to the friend in that case because I think it's an underlying insecurity. Here's one that I would. You say you're going to go on a vacation for yourself, or you're going to do something. Let's say you are going to start rock climbing, and your friend's like, oh, I wouldn't do that because, well, that's not an easy example. The vacations example is better. Well, that friend knows that you are struggling financially. There are times when you want to listen. Like, if you are struggling financially, that probably isn't the best decision to do, and it's not out of insecurity. So keep that in mind. But you got to ask deeper questions, and then you make your decision. Am I saying yes to myself, or am I saying no to myself? And why is it? Are you doing it based on what other people are going to think? Or are you doing it for you and your freedom? Remember, the more you say yes to yourself, and in things that are going to help you grow as a human, you are going to you're going to be a better servant to your kids. And when I say servant, don't take that negatively. It's more of like, we are here to serve others and serve the world. So you cannot do that if you are depleted and you have nothing to give. Saying yes to yourself, you'll fill your cup. So go say yes to yourself. Ask what have you been depriving yourself of? What are you going to be like? Let's say when you hit your midlife crisis. Well, let's not hit the midlife crisis and instead start today and start living your life so that you can learn more about yourself. You can become a better friend, better partner, better wife, better mom, better dad, better coach, better therapist, and whatever else. Have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you later.